BBL 851, turn right, heading 180. Order 14 Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 27.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to what is quickly becoming a favourite series here on the channel for a number of people. That is my Aviation News Weekly series. With almost around 200,000 combined views over the past 2 episodes, I thought I'd bring it back again this week. As always, if you're interested in learning more about one particular topic, do not hesitate to check the pinned comment where I will have specific timestamps. In the description below, you'll also be able to find the original source material, including a number of press releases from airlines and manufacturers. Anyway, let's get underway. We begin with Qantas, who made headlines in the past week with multiple movements. However, the focus in this particular story is on the retirement of their Boeing 747s and a number of route changes that do come with this. As we know, the Boeing 747 with Qantas will no longer fly come roughly October of next year. This means they are slowly but surely departing the airline, and the direct replacement for the 747, the Boeing 787, is taking over the routes. In the past week, Qantas announced the removal of the Boeing 747 on its Sydney to San Francisco service. This does mean that the 747 is rapidly being removed from key international services, with Qantas in favour of the newer Boeing 787. This isn't all bad, as the acting Qantas International CEO knows just how popular the 787 has actually been for customers. Its better efficiency and also cabin product means it's been a hit with airlines and also those travellers. When speaking on the 747's overall legacy, the acting international CEO said, "The 747 has been the backbone of our international fleet for more than 40 years, so it will be the end of an era and the start of another when we farewell the Queen of the Skies from flying to mainland America." Qantas really actually only has a few more 747s left flying today, and flies just 8 of the Boeing 787s. However, they will indeed be welcoming a further 6 from later this year. These new deliveries come after they activated options for the aircraft. The removal of the 747s, though, will go hand in hand with the arrival of one Boeing 787, if that makes sense. Anyway, moving on to our next story. The future of Thomas Cook has been up in the air for some time now, and similar to the situation with Alitalia, more and more groups/carriers are expressing their own interest in taking over part, if not all, of the business. The International Airlines Group, or more simply known as the IAG, recently denied having any interest in taking over part of Thomas Cook, according to the very reputable Reuters. This response from IAG only came a day after British Airways rival Virgin Atlantic expressed their own interest in Thomas Cook. While Virgin Atlantic has indeed expressed their own interest in the project days prior to this, it was heavily reported that Lufthansa and Indigo Partners were actually the front-runners for Thomas Cook. The interest, if you're unaware, has been spurred on from the airline being put up for sale in February of this year, after they issued a number of major profit warnings throughout 2018. It's a similar case to what we've actually seen with other airlines in Europe, and more widely the world, and unfortunately not always deals can be struck to save an airline or group. According to Lufthansa's CEO, they have placed a bid for Thomas Cook, while Virgin Atlantic has only issued a preliminary offer for Thomas Cook. That was thanks to a report by Sky News. Moving over to WestJet and some news that you've probably already heard, but I thought I'd just mention it for anyone that does like WestJet. The carrier completed their first transatlantic flight with their newly acquired Boeing 787 at the end of April. The service was from London Gatwick to Calgary and back, and was operated by their third Boeing 787. Many travel bloggers were on the flight, really giving the WestJet 787 product a run for its money. Following this service, you can expect WestJet to be launching their 787 on a Calgary to Paris service and Calgary to Dublin service. Welcoming the 787 on these services are overall part of their big plans to further expand into Europe, something we're seeing more and more carriers do from across the pond. Moving on now, Airbus saw a rollout of a brand new A330 late last week as well. The first Lion-Air A330neo rolled out in its iconic orange scheme. The airline will get the A330neo on a lease from BOAC Aviation or BOC Aviation. As part of this agreement, Lion-Air will welcome on 8 A330neos, while getting 2 additional ones which are not part of this particular leasing agreement. Lion-Air has opted for a single-class layout, which will actually mean mean this A330neo will be able to seat a whopping 440 passengers, a feat that is rather incredible for an aircraft like the A330neo. It highlights its position in the industry and how airliners nowadays can be so incredibly versatile. Staying with Airbus, the aircraft manufacturer delivered the first A321LR to Air Transit over the past week as well. This is the first of 15 A321LRs for Air Transit and is being leased from AerCap. It's also fitted with the unique Airbus Cabin Flex configuration, allowing the installation of another fuel tank. The A321LR has a range of up to 4,000 nautical miles, and will actually benefit Air Transit on its services to Europe, South America, and more in the future. The Chief Operating Officer of Air Transit said, "The arrival of this new generation aircraft is an important moment for our company and our passengers in many respects," adding, "The Airbus A321LR represents what Air Transit stands for today and what we strive for in the coming years. It reinforces our position as a leader in sustainable tourism while also offering our passengers a superior onboard experience." The A321LR with Air Transit can actually seat 199 passengers in a two-class configuration, with your standard economy and a premium club class also being featured. The type will be delivered through to 2022 for anyone wondering. Finally, the Airbus Chief Commercial Officer said, "We are proud to deliver the A321LR to Air Transit and to actually be associated with such a fine, innovative airline." Adding, "The A321LR, with its increased range and low operating costs, enables Air Transit to increase flight frequencies, expand its network, and strengthen its competitive position. Airbus will provide Air Transit with world-class support and work to ensure its ongoing success." We'll now move over to the recent results posted by Emirates. The major takeaway from this, while certainly not actually being the financial results, was the removal of the Boeing 787-10 from their fleet book. I've covered this in a separate video, but for this Aviation News Weekly, it's time to crunch some numbers. I know this may be a little confusing, and sometimes even I get confused, so just stick with me here, and I'll try and do it as slowly as possible, just to make sure everyone can understand. So the Emirates Group amazingly recorded its 31st year of consecutive profits, a feat that so many other airlines struggled to achieve. The group posted a profit of US $631 million, a record revenue of US $29.8 billion, a solid cash balance of US $6 billion, and dividends of $136 million to the Investment Corporation of Dubai. The profits were down roughly 70% from the previous year. The chairman and chief executive of the Emirates Airline and Group said, 2018-19 has been tough, and our performance was not as strong as we would have liked. Higher oil prices and the strengthened US dollar eroded our earnings, even as competition intensified in our key markets. The uptick in global air freight demand from the previous year appears to have gone into reverse gear, and we also saw travel demand weaken, particularly in our region, impacting both Denata and Emirates. The year saw the group actually invest a whopping US $3.9 billion into brand new aircraft, equipment, and more. These moves will actually hopefully result in the airline and group further developing over the years. Now onto a regular topic here on the channel, that being the Boeing 737 MAX, and I have another update for you regarding the groundings, and it's not too positive. At this stage, the type is still grounded, and work to get a software fix is ongoing. Boeing are now in what a lot of people are saying a damage control mode with their brand overall, as they attempt to paper over various cracks that have appeared, and no doubt their damaged brand value greatly. As a lot of people have said, including myself, the sooner the MAX can get in the skies and be operating safely with this fix implemented, the better for Boeing, the flying public, and all its customers. However, as of last week, there's still no apparent entry into service for the MAX. Many said that it was looking likely the software fix would be certified by the end of May and then implemented by July. In fact, that's what Boeing and the FAA were actually wanting to achieve. However, at least the United Arab Emirates Civil Aviation Authority, like many others, cannot really give a date to its operators. The problem is now with airlines like Fly Dubai and more. They're trying to work out what the best decision operationally is for their future, and that may mean a change in order. With the 737 MAX being hit so heavily with the two recent recent incidents, more and more airlines are weighing up a switch, whether it be to other Boeing aircraft or to the A330neo, a family of aircraft. This is something no doubt that would come as a shock to Boeing and also aviation enthusiasts around the world. Hence why I keep saying the sooner the aircraft gets back in the air and is actually certified, the better for all parties involved. The final story of this week's Aviation News Weekly is focused on results from Qantas, who reported a strong third quarter rise in revenue as more and more people choose to travel with Qantas. The group said that for the quarter which ended on the 31st of March, they saw revenue rise to some 4.4 billion Australian, which is a modest 2.3% increase. In the official statement, which will also be linked below, Qantas also came to the agreement to sell the Melbourne domestic terminal. The terminal was sold for 355 million Australian, and this has also secured future access for Qantas. The 10-year transition will see new retail assets added to the terminal and a whole lot more. It will also further add to the master plan to eventually expand Melbourne Airport, with new runways and a major new international terminal. These plans have been decades in the making, but it seems like only now things are finally starting to pick up on that front. That has been a rather long and interesting, I hope, Aviation News Weekly. If you did make it to the end of this video and watched every single story, thank you very much for the incredible support. I do very much appreciate it and do look forward to you all joining me in the next one.